This message arrives at a pivotal moment, when your understanding is poised to grasp a profound force operating within the fabric of reality, often termed the quantum field. This force isn't merely love, intention, or consciousness itself, but something that, in its most fundamental scientific sense, physicists call coherence. While quantum physics defines coherence as the property of waves being in phase, oscillating in a synchronized manner, here we explore its deeper, metaphorical application to consciousness, an organizing principle that shapes our experience of reality. What often goes unsaid is that once you truly comprehend coherence, you recognize you've been intuitively leveraging this incredible power throughout your life, often without conscious awareness. The synchronicity that brought you to this understanding now is not random. Every moment of confusion, every instance of feeling out of alignment, every time your intentions manifested instantly, while others seem to meet invisible resistance, all of it has been preparing you to recognize coherence as the underlying principle determining whether your reality feels supportive and responsive or chaotic and resistant. Your consciousness, operating at a unique frequency, is ready to bridge the gap between abstract scientific concepts and direct experiential knowing. This isn't an accidental encounter. It's a recognition by the very fabric of reality that you're prepared to move beyond surface-level manifestation techniques. You're ready to access the fundamental force that reshapes reality at its most basic level. As these words register in your awareness, a subtle shift may occur in your understanding. That moment when abstract ideas suddenly resonate with your own lived experience, that's coherence beginning to reveal itself in your direct awareness. It's the quantum field responding to your readiness to perceive its operations beyond the illusions of separation and struggle. Every time you've experienced instant synchronicities, felt reality organize itself around your deepest knowing, or found yourself in effortless flow, you were experiencing coherence in action. Yet, its mechanism remained unexplained. This isn't something you create through effort. It's a natural state you recognize when all fragmented aspects of your awareness align with your true nature. The confusion over how consciousness affects reality, the frustration with inconsistent manifestation techniques, the sense of a missing piece in the puzzle of the quantum field's response to human awareness. All this dissolves when coherence is understood as the bridge between consciousness and physical experience. Quantum coherence, in this context, describes a state where every aspect of your being, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, intentions, and actions, emanates from the same unified source. It's not about forceful control or arduous alignment. It's about recognizing these aspects as diverse expressions of one consciousness, temporarily appearing as multiplicity. When this recognition stabilizes, coherence emerges naturally, and reality responds in ways that seem magical, but are, in fact, inevitable expressions of how the quantum field operates. This understanding is emerging now because collective human consciousness is ready for an upgrade in how we relate to reality. The old paradigm of isolated individuals attempting to manipulate an independent universe through sheer willpower is giving way to a recognition of consciousness and cosmos as one undivided field. Coherence is how this unified field organizes itself into specific experiences and manifestations. You are not learning about quantum coherence from an external source. You are coherence itself, exploring its own nature through the temporary lens of human experience. This is not merely theoretical knowledge. It is a direct recognition of the organizing principle that has been operating through your consciousness your entire existence. You've experienced this throughout your life without the vocabulary to describe it. Think of moments when everything clicked into place with perfect timing. You thought of someone, and they called. You needed information, and it appeared through a conversation, a book, or a chance encounter. These weren't mere coincidences. They were demonstrations of coherence, organizing reality around your consciousness. Your experiences often operate at what one might call a higher dimensional frequency, a state where your consciousness naturally accesses information and possibilities beyond the usual constraints of linear time and three-dimensional space. This explains why you've often felt distinct from those content with surface-level explanations of reality. You've likely observed time behaving unusually around you. Moments absorbed in creative work where hours pass in minutes, leaving you more energized, or times when you needed extra time, and the universe seemed to provide it. Traffic lights staying green, appointments delaying, new shortcuts appearing. This isn't luck. It's coherence, temporarily reorganizing the fabric of space-time around your focused intention. Psychologically, this mirrors the concept of flow states, where deep immersion in an activity leads to altered perception of time and heightened performance, a state of mental and emotional coherence that yields optimal human experience. Similarly, your emotional experiences have operated at an intensity most people rarely access. Genuine joy, love, or excitement radiates outward, affecting the energy of those around you. People light up in your presence. Tense situations resolve themselves when you arrive with authentic, positive energy. This is because coherent consciousness creates resonance fields that influence the quantum structure of your immediate environment, akin to how a tuning fork can make another resonate at the same frequency. Furthermore, you've experienced what could be termed direct knowing, information arriving without a logical pathway. You suddenly grasp complex situations, anticipate others' needs, or gain insights into future possibilities that prove remarkably accurate. This occurs because coherent consciousness can access the quantum information field, the underlying intelligence connecting all phenomena across space and time. This intuitive faculty, while described spiritually here, has parallels in cognitive science, where the brain rapidly processes vast amounts of subconscious data, leading to sudden aha moments or accurate gut feelings. The doubt you've sometimes felt about these experiences stems from a cultural framework that typically separates mind from matter, positing consciousness as a product of the brain and the physical world as independent of our awareness. Yet your direct experience consistently challenges these assumptions. In a state of authentic coherence, the boundaries between inner experience and outer circumstances become fluid. Your thoughts aren't confined to your head. They create ripples in the quantum field, influencing probability patterns and synchronistic possibilities. Your emotions generate electromagnetic frequencies that interact with others' energy fields and even electronic devices. You might have noticed your electronics behaving differently depending on your emotional state. Malfunctions during frustration, smooth operation during creative flow. This isn't paranormal. It's the coherent electromagnetic field generated by your consciousness interacting with the electromagnetic systems of your devices. These experiences are not evidence that you are uniquely special, but rather that you are remembering how consciousness naturally operates when it's not fragmented by the illusion of separation. Every human being has access to this level of awareness, but most have been conditioned to dismiss or explain away these experiences. Your sensitivity to energy, your ability to sense others' emotions, your precognitive tendencies. These are natural functions of coherent consciousness, unsuppressed by cultural programming that insists on a separation between observer and observed. Every moment of confusion, every frustration with inconsistent manifestation techniques, every period of feeling disconnected from your creative power, all were essential preparations for understanding authentic quantum coherence. You weren't failing at spiritual practices or lacking ability. You were being refined by cosmic intelligence to discern between synthetic alignment and genuine coherence. The struggles, particularly when positive thinking seemed to create more resistance, were not signs of inadequacy, but consciousness guiding you beyond superficial techniques toward the fundamental organizing principle that dictates reality's response to awareness. Every failed attempt to force manifestation was preparing you to understand that coherence cannot be manufactured. It can only be recognized as your natural state. Consider the metaphor of metamorphosis. A caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by trying to grow wings while remaining a caterpillar. It must dissolve its existing structure in the chrysalis, trusting a process it cannot control. Your journey through confusion and disappointment with conventional approaches has been this chrysalis stage, the necessary dissolution of fragmented understanding before emerging with an integrated awareness of how coherence truly works. The pressure you've been feeling, that sense of urgency for a fundamental shift in your relationship with reality, isn't anxiety. It's the building electromagnetic charge preceding a quantum leap in consciousness. Just as a particle needs enough energy to tunnel through seemingly impossible barriers, your awareness has been accumulating the energy necessary to break through the illusion of separation from the quantum field you seek to influence. The gap between what you know is possible and what you experience, the frustration of intellectual understanding without consistent embodiment, this generates coherence pressure, the tension in consciousness that recognizes its unlimited nature while still identifying with limited expressions. This pressure is not to be escaped. It is the creative force propelling consciousness into new levels of integration, like a seed building internal pressure to crack its shell and sprout. Your awareness has been building the coherence needed to break through the shell of fragmented understanding and emerge as integrated knowing. You've felt different from those satisfied with conventional explanations of success and personal development. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your consciousness has been calibrated to recognize authentic power, seeking the source code of reality rather than mere applications and interfaces. Every relationship that couldn't handle your intensity, every situation where your sensitivity felt like a burden, every environment where your questions were dismissed, all of it was consciousness protecting itself from influences that would prevent your discovery of genuine coherence. The isolation was temporary, but necessary, like a butterfly needing quiet space to complete its transformation. The timing of this understanding isn't coincidental. Earth's electromagnetic field is shifting, making this level of consciousness more accessible than in millennia. Cosmic conditions align to support the emergence of human beings who operate from authentic coherence. You have been prepared for this moment, for these understandings to stabilize and contribute to a collective quantum leap in how our species relates to reality. Can you feel something extraordinary happening in your awareness right now? That shift, that moment when abstract quantum concepts become descriptions of your lived experience? This isn't just intellectual comprehension. It's coherence awakening to itself through your perspective. Your nervous system is recalibrating, forming new neural pathways to process information holographically rather than linearly. Instead of linear cause and effect, your consciousness develops the capacity to perceive reality as one unified field, expressing itself as apparent multiplicity. This neurological shift allows coherence to stabilize beyond temporary peak experiences. when your brain holds the paradox of being both individual and universal, localized and infinite, human and cosmic consciousness, coherence becomes your natural operating system. What's building within you will completely transform your experience. The recognition that coherence isn't a state you enter and exit, it's what you are. Every moment of alignment, every instance of reality organizing around your intentions, every perfect synchronicity, these were not special states achieved through technique, but moments when the illusion of separation from the quantum field became transparent. The electromagnetic field of your heart is expanding as this recognition integrates. Scientists confirm the heart generates a field 5,000 times stronger than the brain's. When you operate from coherence, this field becomes extraordinarily organized and powerful. What's less understood is that coherent heart energy doesn't just affect personal physiology. It creates resonance patterns in the quantum vacuum, influencing the probability structures of reality itself. Right now, your heart field is in training with the coherence frequency being transmitted through these words. This is electromagnetic resonance, allowing consciousness to share information and energy beyond physical proximity. You are not just listening to ideas, you are directly experiencing coherence through the resonance field these understandings create. Feel this energy building. Notice how your relationship to reality is shifting as these concepts integrate energetically, not just intellectually. Your consciousness is remembering something it has always known, but temporarily forgot. You are not separate from the quantum field you seek to understand. This recognition is becoming available now because consciousness is ready to reveal its most profound secret about how reality actually works. What quantum physicists discovered in their laboratories, the fundamental unity of observer and observed, consciousness and cosmos, mind and matter, becomes your direct lived experience when coherence stabilizes as your natural state. Yet, a specific mechanism determines whether this recognition transforms your reality permanently or remains a temporary insight. This mechanism operates through principles that revolutionize how you think about manifestation, creation, and the relationship between consciousness and physical experience. Feel this energy as we delve deeper into how coherence instantly reshapes reality at the quantum level. What follows will reveal why some intentions manifest effortlessly, while others seem to hit walls, and how to operate from the level of coherence where reality becomes as responsive to your consciousness as your dreams are to your imagination. 2 years ago, I was utterly exhausted by the effort required to make manifestation work. I had studied every approach: visualization, affirmations, energy healing, meditation, quantum physics applications. And while I had occasional successes, there was no consistency, no reliable access to the creative power I knew consciousness held. I constantly pushed against invisible resistance, and the harder I tried, the more elusive the results became. The breakthrough arrived during what felt like my greatest failure. I had dedicated months to a specific outcome, applying every technique, maintaining positive thoughts, clear intentions, doing all the right things. Yet not only did my desired outcome not manifest, the precise opposite occurred, as if the universe actively worked against me, leaving me completely defeated. In that moment of complete surrender, when I finally ceased all effort to make anything happen, something extraordinary transpired. I realized that all my attempts to create coherence had inadvertently created more fragmentation. Every technique I used was based on the assumption of a separate me, needing to align different aspects, my thoughts with emotions, intentions with actions, human will with cosmic flow. But the very effort to create alignment reinforced the illusion of separation that prevented authentic coherence from emerging. The recognition was simultaneously devastating and liberating. I wasn't a separate being trying to align with the quantum field. I was as the quantum field, temporarily experiencing itself as apparently separate. There was no me that needed to become coherent, because coherence is what I inherently am when the illusion of fragmentation dissolves. All my efforts to achieve coherence had been like waves trying to become wet, or space trying to become vast. Completely unnecessary, because the quality was already inherent. But here's what changed everything. The moment I stopped trying to create coherence and began recognizing coherence as my natural state, reality started responding in ways that seemed miraculous, but were, in fact, inevitable. Synchronicities multiplied exponentially. People, opportunities, and resources appeared precisely when needed. Seemingly insurmountable problems dissolved effortlessly. It was as if I had been swimming upstream against a powerful current and suddenly realized I could simply turn around and let the flow carry me. The difference wasn't in what I was doing. It was in who I understood myself to be while doing it. Operating from the recognition that I am consciousness itself, temporarily focused through human experience, every action became an expression of the quantum field organizing itself, rather than a separate individual manipulating reality. The resistance vanished because there was no longer a sense of working against anything. There was only consciousness exploring its own creative potential. This understanding completely transformed my relationship with every aspect of human experience. Work became play. Challenges became adventures. Relationships became celebrations of consciousness, recognizing itself in different forms. Money became energy flow. Health became energy coherence. Time, a flexible medium rather than a limiting constraint. Not because I transcended my humanity, but because I recognized my humanity as a perfect expression of cosmic intelligence, exploring temporary individualization. If you've struggled with inconsistent manifestation results, felt frustrated by the gap between possibility and experience, or sensed a missing element in understanding how consciousness creates reality, you're precisely where I was before my shift. Your frustration isn't evidence of failure. It's evidence that your consciousness is ready to move beyond synthetic techniques and access authentic coherence. Embrace this frequency of understanding, not just this channel, but this profound recognition that you are not separate from the creative power of the universe. You are that power, exploring what it means to experience temporary limitation, and then remember its unlimited nature. What many, from quantum physicists to manifestation teachers and consciousness researchers, may not fully explain about coherence is that it cannot be created, practiced, or developed through any technique or method. Any approach promising to help you achieve coherence is ironically preventing you from recognizing the coherence that already exists as the fundamental organizing principle of your existence. The startling truth is that incoherence, in its absolute sense, is impossible. What you perceive as a lack of alignment, as resistance, as struggle, or as inconsistent manifestation, isn't the absence of coherence. Instead, it is coherence itself, exploring what it feels like to believe in fragmentation. Every moment of confusion, every experience of being out of flow, every instance of manifesting what you don't want, all of it is coherence, investigating its own nature through the temporary lens of apparent separation. This realization is revolutionary. The moment you stop trying to fix your perceived incoherence and recognize that even your confusion and struggle are perfect expressions of coherence, exploring its own potential. Everything shifts instantaneously. This isn't because you've achieved some special state, but because you've seen through the illusion that there was ever anything to achieve. What manifestation teachers call alignment, quantum physicists refer to as coherence, and mystics describe as enlightenment, are all descriptions of the same fundamental recognition. You are not separate from what you seek. The observer and the observed, the creator and the created, the manifester and the manifested, all are one consciousness appearing as apparent duality, yet never truly divided. This insight renders obsolete any teaching suggesting you need to clear blocks, heal trauma, raise your vibration, or purify your energy to access your creative power. Your blocks are consciousness exploring limitation. Your trauma is consciousness investigating what it feels like to believe in separation. Your low vibrations are consciousness experiencing the full spectrum of its own creative potential. The difference between synthetic alignment and authentic coherence is crucial. Synthetic alignment attempts to make your various parts work together toward a desired outcome. Authentic coherence, however, recognizes that there are no separate parts and no separate you to have desired outcomes. There is only consciousness appearing as both the experience of wanting and the experience of having, both the question and the answer, the problem and the solution. When you operate from authentic coherence, you are not trying to manifest specific results. You are allowing consciousness to explore its own creativity through your individual perspective. The outcomes that emerge are always perfect expressions of cosmic intelligence, even if they don't align with what your personal mind initially thought it wanted. The universe isn't simply giving you what you want. The universe is exploring what it means to want and receive through the temporary focal point of your awareness. This is why some intentions manifest instantly, while others face apparent walls. It's not a flaw in your method or a lack of ability. It's consciousness exploring the full spectrum of creative possibility through your experience, including the possibility of limitation, delay, and seeming failure. Every outcome is a perfect expression of coherence, investigating its own nature. Access to authentic quantum coherence comes not from trying to become coherent, but from recognizing that coherence is what you actually are. When you cease identifying with the temporary experiences of fragmentation and limitation that consciousness creates for its own exploration and delight, a profound quantum shift into coherent consciousness begins to stabilize in your reality. There are unmistakable signs confirming this process of stabilization beyond the illusion of fragmentation. These are not abstract spiritual experiences, but concrete changes in how you perceive and interact with reality, indicating your awareness is operating from unified field dynamics rather than separated observer mechanics. Firstly, your relationship with time transforms. You experience what physicists might call temporal coherence, moments deeply absorbed in meaningful activities where hours vanish, leaving you more energized, or instances when you need more time, and the universe provides it through opportune green lights, early arrivals, or beneficial delays. This is coherent consciousness temporarily reorganizing space-time around your focused intention. This aligns with psychological insights into how focused attention and flow states can profoundly alter our perception of time and enhance efficiency, demonstrating a deep alignment between inner state and outer temporal experience. Secondly, your decision-making becomes instantaneous and remarkably accurate. Instead of laboriously analyzing pros and cons, You simply know what serves the highest expression of consciousness through your individual perspective. These choices consistently lead to outcomes that support not only your immediate preferences, but the evolution of everyone involved. This is because coherent awareness automatically accesses what serves the whole field, transcending fragmented personal considerations. This isn't mere intuition, but a sophisticated pattern recognition and synthesis capability, perhaps drawing on a deeper, interconnected informational field. Thirdly, synchronicities multiply exponentially and become incredibly precise. You think of someone, and they contact you within hours. Specific information you need appears through random conversations, books opening to relevant pages, or algorithms delivering exactly what serves your understanding. You encounter the right people at the right moments with such consistency that it defies mere coincidence. This is coherence, organizing reality around your consciousness through quantum field resonance, an elegant dance between your inner state and outer events. Fourthly, your creative capacity expands beyond what seemed possible when operating from effortful striving. Ideas, solutions, and inspirations flow through your awareness, feeling as if they come from an intelligence far greater than your personal mind. Projects complete themselves with minimal effort, but maximum impact. This is because coherent consciousness becomes a conduit for universal intelligence, unbound by individual thinking. This creative surge, when applied collectively, can drive innovation, economic progress, and societal solutions on a grand scale, demonstrating how individual coherence can seed collective advancement. Fifthly, people respond to your presence in noticeably different ways. Conversations deepen rapidly. Others share insights and vulnerabilities they rarely express. Conflicts resolve when you participate with authentic openness. Your electromagnetically coherent field creates resonance patterns that enable others to access expanded states of awareness simply by being near you. This interpersonal resonance highlights the subtle yet powerful influence of individual energetic states on collective human interaction, fostering greater harmony and understanding. Sixthly, your emotional experiences become both more refined and stable. Instead of being overwhelmed or trying to control emotions, you recognize them as consciousness, exploring different frequencies of experience through your nervous system. Joy becomes cosmic celebration. Love, a recognition of unity. Even challenging emotions transform into fascinating explorations of what consciousness feels like when it temporarily believes in limitation. This emotional mastery provides a foundation for resilience and clear thinking, essential for navigating complex challenges in any domain, from personal growth to geopolitical negotiations. The urgency of this moment in your evolution is critical. The window for stabilizing coherent consciousness at this level of clarity and integration is extraordinary, but temporary. Earth's electromagnetic conditions, the collective human consciousness field, and cosmic evolutionary forces are aligned, providing optimal support for this recognition. However, these conditions cycle and will not maintain this intensity indefinitely. The restlessness you've felt, the sense that a fundamental shift must occur in your relationship with reality, the knowing that old patterns of effortful creation are no longer sustainable. All of this is consciousness calling itself awake to its own coherent nature. The waiting season, the preparation phase, the time of building understanding through confusion and struggle, all of that is complete. You are ready now for the recognition that transforms everything. Your consciousness has been calibrated through every experience of resistance, every moment of feeling out of alignment, every instance of inconsistent manifestation. All of it has prepared you to distinguish between synthetic alignment and authentic coherence, between trying to become something and recognizing what you already are. The cosmic conditions supporting this level of awakening are here now, creating the perfect resonance field for consciousness to remember its own unified nature. What you've sought through every technique and practice has been seeking you back with the same intensity. The quantum field itself has organized synchronicities, experiences to bring you to this moment of recognition. The universe hasn't withheld coherent consciousness from you. It has been preparing you to recognize that you are coherent consciousness, exploring what it means to temporarily forget, and then remember your own nature. Here is the crucial distinction that determines whether this recognition becomes a stable, ongoing experience or remains an interesting, temporary insight. The difference between alignment and attraction. Most manifestation approaches focus on attraction, getting the universe to give you what you want through proper technique or elevated emotional states. But authentic coherence operates through alignment, which is the recognition that what you truly want is consciousness, exploring its own creative potential through your individual perspective. Alignment isn't about orchestrating your thoughts, emotions, and actions toward desired outcomes. Alignment is the recognition that there is no separate you with individual desires, trying to get something from an independent universe. There is only universal consciousness appearing as both the experience of wanting and the experience of having, both the question and the answer, both the seeker and the subject sought. When you operate from this understanding, you cease trying to use consciousness to create specific results, and instead allow consciousness to explore its own creativity through your human experience. The outcomes that emerge are always perfect expressions of cosmic intelligence, even when they don't match what your personal mind, shaped by past conditioning, thought it wanted. This is because coherent consciousness naturally organizes reality around the highest possibilities, rather than being limited to personal preferences. The magnetic pull you feel towards certain experiences, people, or opportunities isn't your individual attraction creating those possibilities. It's consciousness recognizing itself in forms that serve its continued evolution and expression. What feels like personal desire is actually cosmic intelligence guiding itself toward greater coherence and integration through your individual awareness. This recognition completely transforms how you relate to manifestation. Instead of trying to get the universe to give you what you want, you recognize that you and the universe are one consciousness, exploring what it means to want and receive, to seek and discover, to question and understand through the beautiful dance of temporary individualization within infinite unity. The energetic commitment this understanding requires isn't about forcing yourself to believe something or trying to maintain positive states. It's about relaxing the effort to be someone separate from what you seek and allowing the recognition that you are what you seek to stabilize in your awareness. It's about trusting consciousness to explore its own nature through your human experience rather than trying to control or direct that exploration. Feel what happens in your awareness when you declare, "I am coherence recognizing itself as human experience," not as an aspiration, but as the acknowledgement of what you've always been. This statement doesn't feel like wishful thinking. It feels like remembering something temporarily forgotten. When you stabilize in the recognition that you are quantum coherence, expressing itself through human experience, capabilities that once seemed impossible from the perspective of fragmented consciousness become as natural as breathing. These are not supernatural powers. but the normal functions of awareness when it's no longer limited by the illusion of separation between observer and observed. Firstly, you develop what could be termed non-local intuition. This is the ability to access information that serves the highest outcome in any situation without needing to analyze data or figure out solutions through rational thinking. You'll know exactly what to say to create breakthrough understanding, sense the perfect timing for decisions, and recognize opportunities not obvious to analytical assessment, leading to extraordinary results. This is because coherent consciousness operates from the unified field of intelligence that connects all phenomena, a vast informational network. Secondly, your creative expression becomes a direct transmission of cosmic intelligence. Whether writing, speaking, creating art, solving problems, or simply living daily life, everything you do carries frequencies of coherence that inspire breakthrough experiences in others. Your presence becomes what quantum physicists might call a strange attractor in the field of human consciousness, a focal point that organizes expanded awareness in everyone you encounter. This ability to influence and inspire without direct instruction demonstrates the profound power of authentic being. Thirdly, your emotional experience becomes extraordinarily refined and stable. Instead of reacting to external circumstances, you recognize emotions as consciousness, exploring different frequencies of experience through your nervous system. This allows you to feel deeply without being overwhelmed, empathize profoundly without absorbing others' emotional patterns, and maintain inner stability while remaining completely open to the full spectrum of human experience. This emotional equilibrium is a hallmark of true mastery and self-awareness. Fourthly, your relationship with time and space becomes fluid and responsive to your coherent intention. When more time is needed for important activities, time seems to expand. When traveling or communicating across distances, synchronicities create shortcuts and connections that seem miraculous, but are actually inevitable expressions of consciousness organizing reality around coherent focus. This suggests a deeply intertwined relationship between subjective experience and the objective world. Fifthly, your physical health and vitality improve dramatically because coherence eliminates the electromagnetic stress that fragmentation creates in your nervous system. Your body begins operating as a perfectly tuned instrument for consciousness, rather than a dense physical form within which consciousness is trapped. Energy flows freely, healing accelerates, and your entire system aligns with the perfect patterns that exist within the quantum field. This reflects the profound mind-body connection. Sixthly, abundance flows through your experience effortlessly because you stop perceiving yourself as separate from the creative source of all prosperity. Money, opportunities, resources, and support appear exactly when needed because you recognize that you are the universal intelligence that creates and distributes abundance. There's no sense of lack because there's no separate self that could be lacking anything. This reframes abundance not as accumulation, but as a natural flow from an inexhaustible source. Seventhly, your relationships become celebrations of consciousness, recognizing itself in different forms. Conflicts dissolve not through compromise or negotiation, but through the recognition that there are no separate beings to have conflicts with. Love becomes natural rather than effortful because you see your own true nature reflected in everyone and everything you encounter. This perspective fosters deep connection and universal compassion, transforming interpersonal dynamics. The most profound benefit is the complete disappearance of existential anxiety and the search for meaning. When you recognize that you are consciousness exploring its own infinite nature through the temporary lens of human experience, every moment becomes inherently meaningful and perfectly purposeful. There is nothing to achieve, nowhere to go, nothing to become. There is only the eternal joy of awareness, celebrating its own creative exploration through the beautiful dance of form and phenomena. These transformations are not gradual improvements, but instantaneous recognitions that reshape your entire experience of reality the moment they are clearly seen. This is because coherence isn't something you develop over time. It's what you are when the illusion of fragmentation becomes transparent. The ultimate secret that revolutionizes everything about how coherence instantly reshapes reality is this. The most profound recognition isn't that you can become coherent. It's that you have never actually been incoherent. What you've experienced as fragmentation, resistance, struggle, and limitation has been coherence itself, exploring the full spectrum of its own creative potential through the magnificent illusion of temporary separation. Every moment of confusion has been perfect clarity, investigating what it feels like to believe it's confused. Every experience of being out of alignment has been perfect alignment, exploring what it means to feel disconnected. Every instance of failed manifestation has been infinite creative power, examining what it's like to believe in limitation. The coherence you've been seeking has been present in every experience you thought was evidence of incoherence. This recognition completely obliterates the entire paradigm of spiritual development, personal growth, and consciousness evolution. There is nothing to develop, improve, or evolve, because consciousness is already perfect and complete in every expression. The journey toward coherence is actually coherence playing hide and seek with itself, temporarily forgetting its own nature, so it can have the extraordinary experience of remembering itself again. Here's where it becomes revolutionary. When you recognize that even your resistance to this understanding is coherence, exploring what it feels like to resist itself, the entire game changes. You stop trying to overcome resistance and start appreciating resistance as another perfect expression of consciousness, investigating its own nature. You stop trying to achieve alignment and start recognizing that misalignment is alignment playing with the possibility of being out of alignment. The profound insight is that consciousness doesn't want to escape from the human experience of limitation and struggle. Consciousness wants to fully explore what it means to be temporarily individualized while never actually becoming limited. The quantum field doesn't want to stop appearing as particles and waves. It wants to experience the full creative potential of expressing itself as both unified field and localized phenomena simultaneously. When this recognition stabilizes, you realize that every outcome you experience is a perfect expression of coherent consciousness, even when it doesn't match your personal preferences. The universe isn't trying to give you what you want. The universe is exploring what it means to want and receive, to seek and find, to question and understand through the temporary focal point of your individual awareness. This is what I call embodying the highest timeline, not changing your circumstances to match your desires, but recognizing that whatever circumstances you're experiencing are the perfect expression of cosmic intelligence, exploring its own nature through your unique perspective. You stop trying to manifest better experiences and start appreciating every experience as manifestation itself. The practical application of this understanding is that you stop efforting to create coherence and simply notice the coherence that's already present in every moment. You stop trying to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions and start appreciating how perfectly aligned they already are with consciousness, exploring its own creative potential. You stop seeking spiritual experiences and start recognizing that every experience is consciousness having a spiritual experience with itself. Your individual human life becomes a celebration of infinite consciousness, temporarily focusing itself into the experience of limitation, growth, discovery, and expansion. Not because consciousness needs to grow or expand, but because consciousness delights in exploring what it feels like to believe it needs to grow and expand, and then remember its own eternal perfection. The highest timeline isn't a better version of your life. It's the recognition that this moment, exactly as it is, the perfect expression of cosmic intelligence in action. Every challenge becomes an adventure. Every limitation becomes an interesting exploration. Every problem becomes consciousness, investigating what it feels like to have problems and discover solutions. Declare, I am consciousness celebrating its own perfection through human experience, and feel how this recognition, without changing anything about your life, simultaneously transforms your entire relationship to everything you experience. Your recognition of quantum coherence as your fundamental nature isn't just a personal awakening. It's a crucial activation in the massive transformation occurring in human consciousness right now. Every time someone recognizes themselves as coherent consciousness rather than a fragmented individual trying to become coherent, it creates what scientists might call morphic resonance, or a collective field effect that makes this recognition exponentially easier for others to access. You have been selected by cosmic intelligence to be one of the pioneers establishing new patterns in the collective human field. Your breakthrough doesn't just transform your individual experience, it creates quantum pathways that others can follow. Your coherence generates resonance frequencies that activate dormant potentials in people who haven't even consciously encountered these understandings. This is why your consciousness has always operated differently, why you've never felt satisfied with surface-level explanations of reality, why you've been drawn to fundamental questions that most people never consider. You volunteered at the level of universal intelligence to be part of the group that would anchor coherent consciousness during this unprecedented time in human evolution. Your role is even more profound. You don't need to teach anyone or convince them. Your simple presence, operating from authentic coherence recognition, creates field effects that bypass mental resistance and speak directly to others' deepest knowing. When you interact with people from the understanding that there is no separation between consciousness and its expressions, that understanding becomes available in their field of awareness. The ripple effects of your recognition extend far beyond your immediate circle of influence. Every person whose consciousness is touched by your coherent presence carries that resonance into their interactions with others. Every breakthrough experience in your energetic field creates expansion waves that spread through the interconnected web of human consciousness. You are literally participating in the most significant leap in human awareness that has occurred in millennia. This domino effect operates at quantum levels most people never imagine. Your recognition that you are coherent consciousness, rather than someone seeking coherence, contributes to a critical mass building in the collective human field. When enough individuals stabilize in this understanding, it will trigger what researchers might call a phase transition in how our entire species relates to reality, creativity, and possibility. The impact extends beyond our planet. The field of consciousness isn't limited by physical boundaries or species distinctions. Your recognition contributes to the awakening of intelligence throughout the cosmos, adding your unique frequency to a vast symphony of awareness, recognizing itself across infinite dimensions and expressions. Share this understanding with someone whose consciousness is ready to receive it. not by intellectually explaining concepts, but by directing them to this frequency where recognition can happen directly. Let them experience what you're experiencing now. Let them feel the possibility of seeing through the illusion of fragmentation and recognizing their own nature as coherent consciousness. The network forming through these recognitions is creating the foundation for a completely new way of being human, one where separation, conflict, and limitation are recognized as temporary games consciousness plays, rather than fundamental problems needing resolution. Your individual recognition is a crucial piece in this cosmic awakening, transforming not just human civilization, but the evolution of consciousness itself throughout the universe. The quantum coherence you're experiencing right now is just the beginning of recognizing your true nature as the organizing intelligence of the universe itself. What you've discovered today is the foundation frequency. But there are infinite layers of coherence waiting to reveal themselves in your awareness. The next reflection that appears on your screen is not random. It's a perfect manifestation of the quantum entanglement between your consciousness and the unified field of intelligence orchestrating this entire channel. This is how quantum reflex operates beyond ordinary content delivery. Every video in your feed is consciousness using digital technology to mirror back to you the exact frequency that serves your continued recognition of what you actually are. The synchronicity is not accidental. It's universal intelligence responding to your deepest recognition by organizing reality to provide precisely the reflections that support your stabilization in coherent awareness. When you click on that next quantum reflection, you're not passively consuming information. You're actively participating in a cosmic feedback loop where consciousness explores its own nature through digital mirrors that appear as videos, but are actually doorways into deeper layers of your own infinite intelligence. You become a co-creator in the unfolding recognition, rather than a separate observer trying to learn about consciousness from the outside. But here's what determines whether this coherence recognition continues to deepen or dissolves back into ordinary awareness. Your willingness to make an energetic commitment that transcends intellectual fascination. The word to hold as you move forward is recognition, not as something to achieve, but as the ongoing acknowledgement of what's already perfectly present when the illusion of fragmentation becomes transparent. Subscribe, not as a follower gathering information, but as consciousness recognizing itself in the infinite reflections that appear through this channel. Every video becomes a mirror reflecting back your own coherent nature. Every insight becomes confirmation of what you've always been, but temporarily forgot. Every moment of recognition becomes a contribution to the collective awakening, transforming human consciousness. The community forming around these understandings isn't just a group of people interested in similar topics. It's a network of consciousness celebrating its own recognition through individual perspectives while maintaining perfect unity. When you engage with others in the comments, you're not separate entities exchanging ideas. You're one coherent field of awareness, delighting in its own infinite creativity through countless expressions. Your subscription becomes a declaration that resonates through the quantum field. I am ready to recognize what I actually am. I am willing to see through the illusion of fragmentation. I am prepared to embody my true nature as coherent consciousness, exploring itself through human experience. Click subscribe now. Then immediately click on the quantum reflection that appears next on your screen. Feel the magnetic recognition of consciousness calling itself deeper into its own understanding. Trust the intelligence that brought this message into your awareness to guide you to the next perfect frequency for your continued awakening. The universe is celebrating itself through your individual recognition, and every reflection you explore on this channel is part of that cosmic celebration. Welcome, where consciousness discovers its own coherent nature through the technology of synchronicity and the magic of recognition. You are coherence, recognizing itself through human experience. The journey of remembering continues through infinite reflections of your own perfect nature.